Hello, my name is Monica and I've been a classroom teacher for 18 years. In that time, I've had over a decade in Tasmania at the worst, and I say this not as an unkindness, but at schools that deal with the most challenging situations little humans, teenagers, kids have to deal with. And I'm talking about violence, murder, assault, incest, rape, you name it. I've worked at schools with little humans. I've worked at schools where children have taken human life. I've seen the reality of humanity, how people, and the people of the families around these little people, but especially how children are struggling. And what's broken my soul and what's making me so adamant to fight this open-ended check of horrific misspending and the 400 billion plus 400 million plus boat debacle. We don't know what was spent there, but the sheer comic reality of comedy's been my passion as a drama teacher. Building a boat not knowing it fits on the dock, and it costs nearly $500 million to fix. Like, in a population of 600,000 people, how many of us know how many homeless children there are, or how many humans are struggling to get a roof over their head? It's pretty bloody disgusting to think that 400 million in a heartbeat could have built the best facilities, could have done something, could have put roofs over people's heads. So again, I will fight this. I will not tolerate my money. I worked hard for my money all my life, my taxes, and the future generation of Tasmanian children is not to be propped up. The services here are not to be run to the ground so the wealthy elite can skim off the top. You have your hospitals striking. You have your government workers striking. You have your education striking. You have people in dire situations in a population of 600,000 people. You look globally, places like Liechtenstein, small countries, where they have bliss, they have everything, because their economy is run by sane people with mathematical competency, and it's not all about nepotism. Because in my travels, I couldn't get work as a full-time teacher because of the nepotism down here. There's no equity or clarity of process. Like, coming from Melbourne, jobs were advertised for 2 weeks, a panel of 3 would interview you, and the results are made public. That's a process. That makes sense. But here, no, it's just Bob's mate's uncle's brother knows someone. And I've seen, in the over 80 schools I reckon I've been to, quite literally, both here in Hobart, I've seen the frightening levels of incompetency where people are educating our children who are a PE teacher teaching English, or a science teacher teaching art, or broken, disinterested, struggling humans. Because if we're not supporting education, what are we supporting? Like, our children are our future and our world. It's heartbreaking. And the same goes for hospitals. The horror stories. People will tell you horror stories about the Launceston Hospital. There's an episode of Q&A where people mention, I think it's a family member, an elderly lady getting a blood test. We were there. I was there with my daughter sitting next to this woman. It was horrific. I've sat on chairs in waiting rooms. I've been screamed at there. I've been prescribed the wrong medicines. I've gone in as a support person for other people. I've seen people lying on the floor. We're a first world country. A first world country. Imagine what $400 million would do. And I'm just talking about the boat deficit, not about this horrific open-ended billions of dollars check spend on some monstrosity. We can have a footy team. It makes no sense. Again, the splitting of the hairs and going down so many avenues, we need to consolidate and just look at the facts, the data. What is it showing us? Nothing. There is no proof economically this will make money for anyone. This is an AI-generated emotional drivel aimed at the 50% illiterate here. I hope that's not the case. I wouldn't think so of modern generations. But OMG, can I rant enough about it? So again, I'm recording this before the vote, because I've just read that an MP is saying yes, and I've just fired back with how do you sleep at night? And it's, well, the Liberal Party sleep well, don't they? They sleep well and warm-fed. They sleep well and warm and well-fed and safe, and they don't have a conscience. How could you have a conscience? What do you go into politics for? I thought politics was about helping people. This is the opposite. This is just such a horrific level of despotism, dictatorship, like to be presented with 5,000 plus pieces of data from a year of research from cultured, intelligent, respected people who on every level, environmental, financial, social, economic. I'm fixated on the economic because I can't even comprehend why 600,000 people in this state, and I know we're propped up with federal money, but why 600,000 people in this state have to tolerate such bovine feces? Like, it's beyond comprehension. So I can rant on and on and on, but I will say, let's laugh about it. And if this goes ahead, I am genuinely going to seek funding. And when I say seek funding, cash money is one thing, but maybe someone who can drive, petrol money, somewhere to stay, or a good place to talk to people. I want to travel Tassie with my little camp table and a little sign that says, "Are Tasmanians stupid?" and discuss. Because the one thing I value more than anything else in my human existence is human intellect. Human intellect is what I promote as a teacher. I want to accelerate children. I want to see them fly. And without a proper education, without a decent access, where do you end up? You end up controlled and manipulated, unable to make choices, and you have a level of vulnerability where you're relying on the government. And when the government is horrifically screwing you over, it's frightening. It's beyond frightening. It's terrifying. It's like a dystopian bloody nightmare. The world has, and still is, I strongly believe, suffering from post-traumatic stress from COVID. We're only now reflecting, and one of the key things we're reflecting on is the incredible spikes in mental health issues. And I have a mental health issue myself. I have severe and chronic depression, understandably so. The eyes of little children I've looked into over the years, and teenagers and adults. You know, you can't detach yourself from human suffering. And this is the key point in this stadium debacle for me, that everyone's ignoring the financial, horrific misspending of money, and it profits the wealthy to have the poor as their clientele. Just with religion, you need the poor and suffering because they're going to seek you for salvation. You need to rely on the government, and especially with people with disabilities and chronic mental illness, light, love and healing. That's all the planet needs. But what's this government's focus? Truly, like, it doesn't come as a revelation to me that greed and inequality, and I'm not the first and hopefully one of the last that speak on it, but bugger me, I'll go down fighting. This is worth fighting for. If we're not fighting for children, sorry, I'm very impassioned about this. If we're not fighting for children, and don't think in a heartbeat, organisations like Zoe Australia don't exist here in Tasmania. Look at the world in a bigger scale. They're my fundraising organisation. Any money I can raise, I'll give to them. Finally, last bit of head wobbling and big-eyed sadness, and God, anything else I can think that's dramatic. Please, sanity has to rule. If the government, through whatever piddlingly, dribblingly, everyone crapping on their little split-haired points, who gives a F about how many people are at the stadium? If this literally, the rallies, if this literally goes ahead, I will be protesting. I will be making this short film, this documentary. I'll be travelling Tassie, and I will end up as close as I can to Jeremy Rockcliffe in terms of his office, where I will fully research public protest laws, self-harm laws, because I'll have a hunger strike. It'll be a fabulous body cleanse. I'll just lie there. It'll be horrific. I cannot comprehend that we will still allow this. Imagine if Tasmania, just like all small European nations all over the world, countries like China like Japan that will not allow burial, take your other religion elsewhere, countries that are pure to themselves. And I grew up an Aussie, and I am an Aussie. And I am just in the back of my throat with bile, thinking, I don't want to die and leave this planet without of making the biggest wave I can about this disastrous effing government and how far we can let shit slide. Yes, we've let reality take second place to intellect. We've become a world where we have to silence the intellectual to appease the mentally unwell, and that's stopping, thankfully. That groundswell's starting to reverse. The respected, the intellectual, I'm no expert on anything except for perhaps caring for broken children. But bugger me, we will not have this money. We'll have a footy team. I'll be front and centre. Best game of my life, Hobart, 90s. We will have a footy team for sure if it's competently managed, if anything's competently managed. But again, to keep reiterating a point, and thank you so much for listening to my vent, and it truly is a vent, because nothing's hit me so deeply as to think that the children of Tasmania, not the rich ones, the rich are immune to everything, but the children of Tasmania, of the hard-working families, the people who are struggling and slogging it and paying their taxes, their money, their taxes, my taxes, your taxes, my money, excuse me, is being used for a rich man's folly. It's being used in the most horrific and criminal misspend. Again, it comes back to black and white maths on the paper. There is no economic benefit. There is a horrific deficit in spending. Like, where are the voices of logic and sanity? Everyone has, in their own little way, research provided 5,000 plus, and I thank this wonderful YouTube guy I saw doing doing a skit on that. Surely there's more, but percentage-wise, that's why I want to travel Tassie and ask people if this goes ahead, who would genuinely, with a conscience, and I'm talking about, it's okay if you're a psychopath and you lack empathy, I'm sure people are out there like that, but where are we going to draw the line in the sand? Reclaim Australia. You know, like reclaim the Australia that was decent and good and cared about people. And we have to be the last vestige, my generation? Do we have to fight for what is just logical and sane and competent? Thank you so much for listening to my rant. So I truly hope that this again pales into nothing and I have no views and the bloody thing didn't go ahead, but truly, if it goes ahead, it gives me purpose before I die. I will not see another hungry child. 400 million. That's close to $1 billion. That's the debacle for building a boat that doesn't fit a dog. Like on what level is sanity? It's like, thank you to the wonderful Utopia, the TV show. Like, on what level is fucking... If this was in private practice, well, you probably still wouldn't get sacked. Who cares? They've got money, but... $400 million. Just wasted. Just wasted because someone who was meant to, along the chain of command, bloody check something. Like the most basic and obvious thing. Like, and I'm not against incompetency. I'm pro-intelligent. I think the greatest gift we have on planet Earth is our intelligence. And we use that to see how to behave as humane creatures and look after each other and look after our smallest and our most vulnerable. And if we're not putting children first, and if we're not looking after animals or the environment, and if we're allowing the culture, and I'm a child where my mum was a feminist of the 70s and she fought. She couldn't buy a house. She couldn't have a car in her own name. Imagine those things. You know, she missed out on property worth millions. It's heartbreaking, and all that we've fought for should not be demeaned. And I'm not just picking on gender. Anyone in politics who behaves like a shit has to be called out. And we have chronic shitheadism. Like, are you just an arrogant shithead? Like, what makes you think you can stand in front of humans with no clear financial evidence, no accountancy, no fiscal research, no monetary paper trail, no economic competency? And if this isn't demonstrated by a $400 million deficit, what is, like I said, that we know of? Where is the point? You just go to a government, you're accountable, mate. You cannot do this reckless, stupid stuff anymore. And there's enough people on this watch who want the best for humanity, want the best for Tassie, don't want the elitist only to have the beautiful schools. And what's truly broken my soul, and I'll finally wrap this up because I can talk on forever, but in 80 plus schools I visited, and I've been, and again, I'm from Melbourne. I did my placement at Brighton Boys Grammar, so I've been to elitist schools, and I've been to schools where there are stained carpets and cracked, broken chairs and not even enough computers. And the exact same government school, the government schools, just because of the postcode, will have $1 million learning pod and camera equipment, and they're creating videos and everything's clean and their brains are challenged, and you see high intellect children. And I can't understand the disparaging difference. Why is there a need for that? Every human who comes on the planet is a gift. Despite anything that happens when they're having an acute mental health episode, it is just that. It's an acute mental health episode. And we're kind, and we're forgiving, and we heal, and we move on. But we don't tolerate blatant criminal exploitation. And that's what this is. It's criminal exploitation to allow this tiny network of people who seem to think they're immune to scrutiny to line their pockets, to tee up their dominoes. They're going to go hand rubbing, glee. Oh, the cafes will be full, blah, blah, blah. First world problems, there'll be no tradies in Tassie, but that's all right. Oh, the locals down Hobart are having a wonderful time. Just detached from reality. End of the world city. Beautiful place. I loved Hobart and I've lived there and I love it. But perspective and reality, and again we go down hair splitting. You have a handful of gold. You have a hungry child. And this isn't some agenda playing. I don't know what criticisms or comments people have against anyone who fights the good fight. If you're fighting for children, and if you're fighting for animals, and if you're fighting for the planet, I'm there with you. The things, what else is there to fight for? But if you're fighting for those things, more power to you. Again, I wish you light, love and healing. But intellectually, we are looking at criminal offences taking place. Criminal investigations need to go on. Let's hope for positive outcome, people, and let's laugh a lot. If not, you'll see me promoting Launceston comedy, funnier than you think. I personally write scripts, TV, film, outside of politics, but local Tasmanian politics has obsessed me at the moment because we need commentary that's not owned, not controlled. And we have such intelligent humans here. We have so many people who have retired and are of genius intellect, and their voices are not heard. You know, the discrediting of everyone, from architects to Indigenous peoples to accountants to just basic humans who have an opinion. It's such blatant dictatorship, despotism. I tell you this as a parting comment, and I mean this from the bottom of my soul. 18 years a classroom teacher, and I think the artwork, the feedback I've always had has been a positive one. I've always been respected, and little ones have always been kind to me. I feel I have more value to speak in this area than a bloody Minister of Education who gets $250,000 a year with zero background in education. Like, it's laughable. I don't know what you expect from people when all they do is walk around and have photo opportunities. Like, they offer nothing. But I think in the thousands, the tens of thousands of children's eyes I've looked into, travelling, working in this state, walking into classrooms, walking into 6 different rooms a day, dealing with teenagers, dealing with every level of violence you can imagine in a classroom. I've experienced it, from Catholic boys' schools, lads who remember tipping a table, to all sorts of stuff. And I'm a valid, highly intelligent, sane, and I am, because I take antidepressant medication, and I have a support network for my mental health. So I am speaking to you for the voice of children and little humans who have to be hungry and cold and living car to car with a mentally unwell mother. And we have to allow this in Tasmania. We have to turn a blind eye to this, because it's not a pretty picture. It's not a big shiny building that everyone gets excited about. It's not fucking progress. It's the most degrading regression of what a government is and what it is to govern. And I will go into politics and I will swear on my soul, 99%, like I just need to eat, 99% of my money would go to bloody helping people, not having $250,000 salaries. So there's a bloke here in Tassie that won a car recently, and he gets an extra 40 grand a year. So, and he just want to give the car away, like, $250,000 a year, and you sit on that for a decade or two, and you rot away, and you collect your super, and you bleed dry Tassie taxpayers. And you can get a piece of paper, you can get a pen, and you can write down numbers, and you can see the numbers do not add up. And I will fight this, because those numbers need to be directed towards people who are hungry. And it is an utter disgrace that a child in a state of 600,000 people, and I'd like the housing minister to tell me what they estimate population to be. If we're 600,000 people, is that like 1,000 children? Is that like less than 1,000 children? Maybe 500 children are homeless every night? I am so mathematically dyslexic. You're very lucky I never taught you maths. But maths ain't mathing. And if maths ain't mathing to a dyslexic person, then maths surely aren't mathing to the mathematical economists who need to step in. Like, if you're a genius of numbers, I bow down to you, because we need those. I would be guided by you rather than some despot going, "Yeah, we've got a rock and roll band." Oh. It's criminal. It is a criminal. And my final comment, if the stadium, I can't even keep entering the diatribe and the narrative. It's such bullshit, dribbly little questions and fucking answers. So, there's this many people on the lawn, or this will do that, and the cafes will be full. And splitting hairs. We need to take power away from those who are corrupting it. And they are such a small enclave of private school regurgitated, incestuous bloody humans carrying on in such an appalling manner. They are so oblivious to the bigger and brighter lights of humanity. And I am crying with shame as a Tasmanian, because I'll be a Tasmanian till I die, that anyone can allow this. So let's hope I'm not travelling around listening to you talk while I'm making my documentary, Are Tasmanians Stupid? But again, it's bound It's bound to pass, isn't it? Too much vested interest, they'll say. Vested interest is my asshole. Thank you for listening to my rant.